Hello, this is Roland. Today I want to talk about meditation. And we could also call it contemplation, contemplative prayer, infused prayer, a very special type of becoming aware of reality. Becoming aware of reality. Because when you're aware of reality, then you see things. You are capable, because of the gift of intuition which you have from your Creator. You have the capability of seeing things as they are. And not only that, but by faith, by not wavering, by not doubting, you remain connected. That lifeline, that tether, keeps you connected to the great awareness of the universe, which is God. Now, and so any of those words will work. It's what you call it is not important. If you want to call it contemplation or meditation. When you are very aware, then you know that God exists. And you have some sort of a rapport with Him. That's the ideal. That's what you want. It's not even the ideal. That's the normal state for a human being. People like Paul, Moses, Jeremiah, Enoch, Noah, Ruth, these people, John, they walked with God. That's the way we're supposed to be. Okay? But we've fallen away from Him. So you have to re-find Him and then walk with Him. It's that simple. It's like you're a little child and you go up to the park with your dad and you're looking at things, and then you rush off you see a pretty flower and you rush off and pick the flower, and then you turn around and you don't see your dad. Well, he just went around the curve of the path, but he's still there, but you don't see him. So what do? You rush to find him. And then when you find your dad, you hold on to his hand again, and then you feel okay. So that's what we need. So how are you going to do that? Well, the little meditation that I have is helpful. Because there are two places where your consciousness can be. It can be in the imagination, or it can be in reality. Now, our problem is that we get lost in the imagination. We fall into the imagination, and we think that we can find answers there. When you're in the imagination, you're separated from reality. See, you've heard of people who have, like too active of an imagination, and they imagine things that don't really exist, and they worry about things that don't really happen. Or they imagine some slight, or somebody disrespected them, or you've known people like that imagine things. It's not really that way. Or down in there, or they think of themselves as no good, and they think of themselves as they can't do anything. See, that's once again they get lost in the imagination, and then the feelings that accompany. So those feelings and the imagination and the thoughts that come from there, you need to separate from them. And a good time to practice is when you have, everything's kind of okay. That's a good time to start practicing, because then when things are not so okay, when things start to happen, some issues arise. Then it comes in handy to be able to separate from the imagination and remain in reality. Now, you know from work. Let's consider work as an example. Some of you have rather responsible jobs. You're a foreman, or you're a technician of some sort, or a manager, or a supervisor, or something responsible. Or even a delivery driver. These are all responsible jobs. So you have a job and you're responsible. Well, when things happen at work, you know how you deal with it? When things happen at work, you deal with it. Customer has an issue, you solve the issue. Customer has an issue, you don't know the answer, you call someone up who does have the answer. You call your boss, or you take care of it. Or you go to solve the issue. You're a repairman and you go to somebody's house and they have a faucet that needs repair, you repair it. In reality, you don't go into the imagination, start worrying about it. See? Although some people start to take their work home when it starts to get to them, when they start to be overwhelmed by it, or their ego gets too much involved in it. Then they take it home with them. You've heard people taking their work home with them. But what do they do at home? They worry. They lay at night, can't sleep because they're worried. What if this? What if that? What if the boss? What am I going to do? Now, so we don't want to do that. So you want to have the can-do, problem-solving kind of an attitude for your whole life, the kind that you are capable of having at work. Now, work is a relatively restricted area. Some technical skill that you have of repair or some thing, you're an accountant, you know about this or about that, so you can take care of that stuff without having to worry. But at home, so you think, well, home should be even easier, okay? And it should be. But the only thing is that the problems are, the issues that arise are human. They have to do with relationships, and they can be delicate and subtle. You know, when you're talking to your partner, when you're talking to your child, you know how those moments can be very subtle, and what you do or say it's important. Okay, you remember when you were a kid, maybe. You went to your parent, and your parent got it all wrong. They became angry, or they gave you a lecture, but it was untimely. You see what I mean? They didn't have love, they didn't have understanding, they weren't there for you, something like that. You remember that, don't you? Well, see, so it's a different thing when you're dealing with human beings. Especially when there's some sort of rapport or relationship with them. You need to know just the right thing to do or to say. Now, what do we call that? That's called wisdom. See? And you need wisdom. You need understanding. And you need patience. And you need to know when you don't know. See? So how are you going to get wisdom? Are you going to get it in the imagination? No. Because down in the imagination, what's down there? The endless loop, worries, doubts, fears, anxiety, trying to reach for something to take away the symptoms, to make it go away, or just sitting there and dwelling upon the issue. See, it's like meditating on a problem. You've heard of people meditating on their navel. You've heard the old, it's kind of a fun expression they used to talk about. People would just sit there and stare at their navel or something. Remember that old expression? Well, what do you think mentally staring at a problem is? See, it's not good. So what you need is to stand back. Stand back. And that standing back, see, it's so simple, but it's very important. Because let's look at it from just a technical kind of point of view. So technically, when you escape into your imagination, well, you're escaping from reality. But also, you're acting as if you can find answers down there. You're acting as if you know the answer. You're acting as if you're smarter than God. See? You're acting as if in your own cleverness, you can figure something out. Instead of having faith, instead of calling upon God. See, what's the wisest thing of all? Call upon God. In the Bible it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Can you understand that now? When they see fear of the Lord, they mean cognizant that He exists. And that He's very powerful, see, and that He's important. So you see, so then when you stand back, so there's the problem, You don't know how to deal with it. But instead of escaping into worries and planning and scheming and rehearsing and reliving and trying to dredge up some answer down there, instead, if you stand back, that's the same thing as saying, I trust in God. I want to trust in God. I know that God exists. I know that He can help me. Now, you still may have doubts. Those mysterious doubts will arise. But you have to just look at those also and realize they're not your friend. Those doubts are not your friend. Where do they come from? They come from down there. The same down there where you try to get your answers. Not good. So now do you see the importance of standing back? It means something. It means something. It means you're calling upon God. Let's look at it from another point of view. It's a little something different, but I want you to get the idea of how important just standing back is. And incidentally, my meditation, if I run out, at a certain point I have to make an end because I go on and on. I could go on forever, forever about this. I just want to mention I have meditation. I have this little meditation. I forget what I call it. Free meditation, easy meditation. They're both the same. You get them at my website, sheddingshackles.com or talktoapastor.org. There it is. See, I have other meditations that I've made. Okay, but you just get the free one. It's all you need. It just kind of shows you how to sit quietly and separate from thought. It shows you how to do that. It's very simple, but you need a little help. So get the meditation. That's very important. And then sit down and meditate. Never mind the doubts. Doubts are always arising. Never mind the thoughts that arise. Try to pull you into them. See, the thoughts are always trying to pull you into them, aren't they? So we go into our imagination to try to solve issues, and then when our solutions don't work, then what do? And we escape. Escape from what? From seeing the truth about our own helplessness, our own inadequacy. So let's just face reality. When you're dealing with the important things of life, especially your family, things to do with your partner and your children. See, without God, without wisdom, without understanding, and without patience, we are inadequate. We are at a loss. That's the reality. And it's made all the worse by your habit of escaping into the imagination. So now, stand back from the imagination. And it's the same as calling upon God. Okay? Instead of saying, why me, and why poor me, and so on and so forth, just say, well, here I am. Undoubtedly, I didn't handle something right. See, often that's the case. You could have handled something a long time ago, but you didn't. Maybe you were lost in your imagination back then. See, that's the problem. You have one issue, and then you escape into thinking and hiding in thinking over that one. Meanwhile, something else comes along, and because you're lost down there in the dungeon of your thoughts and emotions, then you miss the golden opportunity to nip something else in the bud. Some other issue that could easily have been dealt with. Well, what happened? Well, see, so you messed that up too. So you see how these things snowball? So, but at a certain point, you just stand back and say, okay, I made a mess out of things somehow or other. Sometimes you know how you did. Other times you don't know. Sometimes you tried. See, but when we try, we get our ego involved. So if you could stand back and just observe, just watch, and see if you can, what did they say? They say commune with God. See if you can stand back. Now, how long can you stand back and commune with God? Well, maybe not very long. Maybe a second. But you know what? That 1 second, you drag yourself to the chair and you sit down. Like I said, say, and you close your eyes and you look at the inside of your eyelids. You see little pixels of light there, little patterns of light. And you become aware of your hand, or your hands. Okay, I'll say your hand. You become aware of your hand. And your hand becomes a little tingly. You notice where your hand is. You can sense where your hand is without images. You just sense where it's at and you become aware of it. And sometimes it helps to facilitate the process. You can become aware of one finger at a time. Become aware of your first finger with your eyes closed. As you notice your first finger, you notice it becomes a little tingly, doesn't it? A little bit tingly. A gentle tingle. Then become aware of your second finger. It becomes a little tingly. And then your third finger. Notice your third finger. Notice it exists. Feel your third finger. Notice your fourth finger. Now notice your thumb again. Now notice your whole hand. It's a little tingly. See? Sometimes you can extend that awareness to both hands. They're both a little tingly. And sometimes you can also notice your feet. They seem to go along together. Your feet are a little tingly, your hands are a little tingly. Eventually your whole body can be a little tingly, a little warm, gentle, delicate, warm. Now, as I say it now, if you're doing it along with me, or if you stop this tape and wind it, go back a little bit. I said wind it back. You don't have to wind it back. How do you do it on YouTube? You just move the little thing back a little bit. And then try and do it with me. It helps. You do it with me. It helps because my voice tends to focus. See? And you look at the inside of your eyelids and see that glow of light. You're aware of your hands. Maybe outside you can hear a little noise. Car going by. A bird. A sound. You're in the present. Okay? Now, if you can do that for 5 minutes, use this YouTube if you want to. Could be good. Or you can download this YouTube, and then I forget how you do it, but there's different ways you can get the YouTube and then get the MP3 of it. Get the audio of it. Have it on your iPhone or on your iPod, or you can just have your iPhone and put this video on. You don't even have to watch it. You could just listen to it. Okay? So that'll get you started. If you can do it for 5 minutes with my voice, or 5 minutes by yourself. Now, if you sit down and you start, and then all of a sudden a thought rises and pulls you into it. Okay, so then you're lost in the thought for a little while, but then all of a sudden you notice that you're lost in the thought and you snap out. There's something about this wanting to be in the present and acknowledging your own inadequacy, but not with resentment, just seeing and wishing you and wanting to do the right thing, and so on. There's something about that, and knowing that calling upon God is good, knowing that. There's something about that. There's some magic in it, that it does help you to actually connect to your intuition, to your awareness, to your intuition. It's very important. But like I was going to say, if you get lost in the thought, then you snap out. There's something about this process, this meditative state, that then once you learn how to do it, you have it. And even if you get pulled into a thought, you snap out. You get pulled into another thought, you snap out. Into another thought, snapped out. Into worry, you snap out. Before you thought worry was a good thing. You thought you were really doing something. You thought your worry was somehow helping, but it doesn't, does it? It's a negative thing. You know how it is when somebody worries about you? It's negative. It's negative. There's nothing there. The answers are not good answers. See? It's not going to solve anything. It's an escape. And it's the wrong place to be. See? Remember the old joke where somebody said, well, they had some issue. Finally, the guy said, well, we've tried everything else. There's nothing else to do but pray. Well, that was the first thing you should have done, pray. But what is prayer? What I'm showing you how to do now is prayer. It's a state of mind. Christ in the Beatitudes, there's a beautiful translation called the Khabouris manuscript. It's translated by the Yonan Codex Foundation. You can actually find it on, you can buy it at Amazon. It's a beautiful book. It has sort of a golden yellow color. It's called the Khabouris manuscript. It's beautiful. But it's the Aramaic. It's an ancient text. It's the New Testament in parts of it. Wish they had the whole thing, but parts of it. Painstakingly translated from the Aramaic language to English. And this beautiful translation, trying to be faithful to the original intent. This is from the Khabouris manuscript. Here's what it looks like, see? Look for this one. You can find it online. It doesn't cost very much. You can get it at Amazon. The Khabouris manuscript. See how it's kind of has a yellow color and a picture of the old manuscript on the cover? When Jesus saw the crowds, he ascended the mountain. When he was seated, his disciples drew near. He began speaking and teaching them and said, "A heavenly attitude is theirs. Those whose home is in the Spirit, theirs is a heavenly state." So that's what you need, a heavenly attitude, a heavenly state. You had something like it when you were a little child, when you were close to God. Now you must refine that. So use the little meditation that I've made. It's very nice. Or even use this YouTube. Practice sitting quietly, closing your eyes, looking at the pixels on the inside of your eyelids. So when you do that, then what you're actually seeing is spiritual light. Or what you're observing is spiritual light, and it cancels out what rises from the imagination, the distraction, the temptation, the worries, the doubts, the fears, the wrong ideas that rise from the imagination, where your ego thinks it knows, but it really doesn't. As soon as you're looking at the inside of your eyelids, now you're in the present. You're no longer lost in the imagination. Like I said before, you can do it for a little while, that's good. But even if you only do it for a second, already in that second, something good enters. The light enters. Something good enters from God. My name is Roland.